Good morning and happy Mother's Day. And welcome to online worship with the First Parish of Sudbury Unitarian Universalist. There is actually, your order of worship is located in a different place today. Look up, it's on the top of the website. So take a look at that, open it up, and you will receive the order of worship, and then you can follow along. Our meeting house has been a gathering place for our evolving congregation to ensure the health and well-being of our members and friends. We have moved online for the time being. We hold our meeting house in our hearts and minds, as it is our anchor to our commitment and faith with one another. Wherever or however we gather, we endeavor to create a space where all are welcome, whether one is a longtime member or if you just found your way here this morning. Each and all of you are encouraged to safely bring your whole self to this forum, all of your respective beliefs, identities, gladness, and sorrows. Leave nothing about yourself behind. We're so happy that you're here with us this morning. This morning's reading was written by Janet Bowering. Blessed is the person who feeds and warms, washes and comforts a child and soothes them in illness, for they shall be called caregiver. Blessed is the person who gives shelter and food, clothing, toys, books, and tools, for they shall be called provider. Blessed is the person who opens the doors in a child's experience, who explains the puzzling and wonders of the mysterious world that we live in, for they shall be called teacher. Blessed is the person who shields a child from that which will wither or warp, who protects a child from abuse and exploitation, who guards against bullying and scorn, for they shall be called defender. Blessed is the person who takes the time to listen, who is there for a child in the darkness, who is aware of the fears, who speaks the words of encouragement in moments of despair, for they shall be called sustainer. Blessed is the person who guides a child in the search for beauty, who encourages them at what is daunting, who steadies them as they explore new experiences, who fires their aspirations and their dreams, for they shall be called inspirer. Blessed are all these persons who help bring an infant along the many paths to maturity, for in them is the future of well-being of humanity. So let us do our chalice lighting. My handy dandy little chalice here. Join me in our unison chalice lighting. We light this chalice for mothers and mothering, to celebrate those who have taken on the task of nurturing a young one, child, a baby, youth into adulthood, to celebrate those who have nourished the light of truth and the compassion in growing minds and hearts, to celebrate those who have committed time, money, energy to the growth of others in this world. We light this chalice to celebrate and hold dear this flame of love. The reading this morning is by Maureen Killeran. Let us tell the stories of our mothers, stories that could be true. Let us tell of warm mothers, soft and round, likely to be found with flour on their nose, always ready to pour you a glass of milk to go with the cookies on your plate. These mothers are increasingly rare. Let us tell of mothers who are like bubbles of champagne. They surprise your senses, leave you giggly, but when you least expect it, they erupt with an unexpected pop. Stories that could be true. Then there are grouchy mothers, stressed mothers, exhausted mothers, faces lined with worry and spirits tired and gray. Other mothers are wise and reliable, not prone to many words or to a lot of noise, but you know that when you need them, they'll be there. Let us tell of fierce mothers, the ones who will love you even when you're wrong. Let us tell also of absent mothers, whose memory shimmers at the edges of your heart. Let us tell of distant mothers, cruel mothers, loving mothers, giving mothers. There are walkaway mothers, save the world mothers, too busy mothers, mothers to cry because you lost them, and mothers who make you cry because you can't. Stories that could be true. May we hold in our hearts the mothers we have known, those who have loved us and those who tried. May we forgive the mothers who didn't get it right, try to release the knots of disappointment, anger, grief, pain. May we hold in our hearts the truth that mothering, nurturing is a task that belongs to all of us. However old you or young you are, whatever gender you may make extra room for nurturing in your life this week. May you say something real to a harried store clerk, give a coworker a genuine compliment, take time to listen deeply to a friend. In our shared silence, may we remember and reflect and create anew the stories of love and nurture from this point forward, stories that can be true. Let's open our hearts and ears to the joy held within this morning's musical interlude. Happy Mother's Day. I would begin this sermon by acknowledging the evolution of being a parent over the last couple of months. I'm guessing that you probably didn't realize that you were going to homeschool your children, be your children's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week caregiver without a day off. I'm guessing that you never thought that you would be your child's tutor and playmate, not to mention referee if you have more than one child or children and pets. I'm certain that the way that you are parenting now is probably very different than what you initially signed up for. Personally, I find that being a parent to my four-legged pooch Cedar is a challenge during a pandemic, so I just want to say that I have only seen a glimpse, cannot really imagine what it is like to be a parent of two-leggers during this very challenging time. How your hopes might be dashed when you expect school to start again in May, only to hear that school will hopefully resume again in September. Traditionally, parenting was mother's work, and the teen angst was up to the father. I can only imagine that the parenting negotiations are currently in progress and ongoing during times like these. Plus, working from home with your kids running around has to be distracting. For you grandparents, I can imagine that you're hearing all about it. Keep the faith. It was different in the household that I grew up in because my mother worked outside of the home, and my dad, for my early years, was my primary caretaker. Once again, I began attending kindergarten. I received after-school care from a neighbor. Once I hit double digits, I became a latchkey kid, arriving home to an empty house, having to fend for myself. Even so, both of my parents were instrumental in my upbringing. They endeavored to secure a private education for me. It didn't take. They took me to the library, took me to the movies, played games with me. I was brought up an only child and not spoiled, which is kind of funny, which I think is actually more than funny. It's miraculous. My parents did not snow ski, but they ensured that I would. They took me fishing and ice skating. We spent time together, but in no way was I their primary focus. With that said, they tried to ensure that I would have special memories that would be with me for the rest of my life. Going to Montreal as a child, New York City, Harlem, my first plane flight, and summers always on the river. Of course, there were significant challenges. They both grew up during the Depression. Neither had a college education. Both were deputy sheriffs, and their favorite sport was verbal banter that bordered on cantankerous at times. All of this helped me to find my own voice and the courage and skill set to survive in a challenging world. I was the first one in my extended family to graduate from college, and again, the first to go on to achieve advanced degrees. Back in the day, there was only one manual about child rearing, written by Dr. Benjamin Spock, published in 1946. Raise your hand if you read it. I wish. He was a pediatrician who endeavored to confirm to mothers that you know more than you think you do. Spock thought differently. He advocated ideas about parenting that were at the time considered out of the mainstream. Over time, his books helped to bring about major change. Previously, experts had told parents that babies needed to learn to sleep on a regular schedule, and that picking them up and holding them whenever they cried would only teach them to cry more and not to sleep through the night. That was a notion that was borrowed from behaviorism. They were told to feed their children on a regular schedule and that they should not pick them up, kiss them, or hug them because that would not prepare them to be strong and independent individuals in a harsh world. In contrast, Spock encouraged parents to see their children as individuals, not to apply a one-size-fits-all philosophy to them. I'm pretty sure my parents didn't read Dr. Spock, but followed along with his advice anyways. My mother was not a worrier. She cheered me on as I flew down a huge hill on my bicycle, no helmet, no hands, skidding to a sliding stop at the intersection of my street and a busy road. Very rarely, if ever, did she say not to do something that bordered on dangerous. Yes, I survived, but at times barely. As soon as the beginning of May rolled around and the ice let loose in the St. Lawrence River, my mother would dare me to be the first to jump in. I got sucked into her goading far, far too long, emerged with blue lips shivering. Did I mention that my mother did not know how to swim? I realized this much later in life. How would she have ever been able to save me? Kind of made me wonder if my mother was trying to take me out or not. Nah, she wasn't. Nowadays, parents have a plethora of resources to read and a wide range of practices to choose from on how to best raise and keep your children safe. Kids are protected in ways they never were before. Think child labor laws, which were initially introduced in 1904, but were not fully ratified in all 50 states, with the holdout of Arkansas coming in line in 1994. It took our forebears 90 years to believe that child labor was wrong. I started working at a department store at the age of 13, and then a family restaurant throughout high school. Now children have laws that mandate car seats and helmets, knee pads, and bubble wrap, all used in order to protect them from the dangers of childhood. Then we hand them learner's permits to drive a car at 15, a true rite of passage. We get them trained in driver's ed and hope for the best. They become young adults. You all become empty nesters as they go off to college. All of that happens in what seems like a blink of an eye. There you are. There you stand, hoping for the best. Some of you hover still, and for good reason. That first away from home experience can be challenging, especially during times such as these. You're a young adult sent home at spring break, and here you are again, trying to do your utmost to support their online learning and their shift with regard to educational requirements and social experience. I'm sure that they are not happy at times with being in lockdown, away from the life that they were endeavoring to build for themselves. Even so, I'm certain that you are doing a better job of raising children and grandchildren nowadays than when I was growing up, or for some of you grandparents when you were growing up. Helping your young adults and adult children to live good and compassionate lives is a lifelong endeavor. Here is something that I've been thinking about this week. Regardless of what type of parent you've planned on being versus the parent that you actually have become, the goal is ultimately the same: to arrive alive. Well, adjusted, unafraid, secure in oneself, have a decent skill set, to be educated in all ways, intellectual, emotional, physical, and spiritual, in an ever-evolving and sometimes dangerous world. At some point in the last 60 years, being a nuclear family changed, and being a parent became a two-person job. And to think about raising children as a single parent is just mind-boggling, and yet it's done all the time, even by some of you. Having had my share of part-time helping out with children, whether they were Mindy's nieces when they were little, or my goddaughter Emily, or the children of friends, it is without a doubt a task that takes more than one parent, two parents at least, but really something more like a village. We've heard this, right? It takes a village to raise a child. Mothers, you get props for giving birth. Oh my God. Fathers, you have to give them that, even if you gain the baby weight along with them. It is a commitment to evolving your body in a way that no one ever wants to talk about afterward, for good reason. In my role as a helper caregiver, I have had the privilege of doing tasks such as teaching a child how to tie their shoes or ride a bike, picking them up after school, taking little ones to horseback riding lessons or piano recitals, reading stories, playing games, tucking them into bed, overseeing prayers, holding my beloved niece for hours when she was colicky, and even changing diapers and doing the middle of the night feedings in China. During one of these times of caregiving many years ago, the words, "I will be dipped in green grass," slipped past my lips, to a look of utter confusion on a child's face. In an instant, I realized that they were my mother's words, and her mother's words as well. In an instant, those words and many more became part of my own lexicon. A year after saying, "I'll be dipped in green grass," to a 6-year-old, I watched a now 7-year-old child full of wisdom say the exact same phrase to a friend when they were surprised about the outcome of the situation. My mother would live on. We pass on what we learn, the quirks and the sayings of our parents, the traditions and the not so good stuff as well. Even this week, during staff meeting, I channeled my mother for a moment when I caught myself saying something that she used to say all the time. Let's put a comma there. In other words, let's take a pause, take a breath, or I'm about to divert in a conversation more than slightly. It happens from time to time, more often than I would ever have thought, that I hear my mother's words come out of my own mouth. I'm guessing that you have experienced something similar. I'm always startled by hearing my mother's words. It is as if we're reaching out across time and space to intercede. She still has an effect on me. I'm not jumping in that water though, just saying. My mom and I, am guessing all mothers, are everything that one person could be. And my job as her daughter was to love and accept her for all of it, regardless of her quirks, regardless of her singing in the aisles of the grocery store, embarrassing me beyond belief. And I think, and she had the worst voice ever. And I think that I did succeed somewhat, except for during my teen years when all bets are frankly off. I was heartened when a friend who is a mom once confided in me, explaining, "Oh, I'm not saving for my child's college education. Oh no, I'm saving for her therapy." Now that is wise. It is clear that most parents want to do their very best for their children, and sometimes they have success, but it is rarely easy, and there clearly isn't any definitive one-size-fits-all guide. In the end, we can only pass on the parenting that we received unless we've done a lot of work in educating ourselves, practicing patience, and embracing therapy. Thus, I'm childless. More than not, our parents, even if they didn't want to pass forward the wisdom and quirks of their own experience, bring the knowledge as well as the burdens with them through the generations. We all know better until we hear the words escape our lips. We reach for that wooden spoon to extend our swatting range, or we start the counting game. My favorite. Don't make me count. 1, I mean it. 2, don't make me come over there. 3, you are in for it now. Then there is a reward or incentivizing game, another one that's quite interesting. If you do this, you'll get that. If you do not do this, you won't get that. In the end, I'm so grateful to my parents for trying with all of their might to educate me, to get me to adulthood alive, because that is the job of a mother and father, of a mother and a mother, of a father and a father, of a single parent trying to be it all. With each generation, parents try to help guide their children to be a little bit better, smarter, more acclimated than we were. The times that we are living through in a pandemic world are not easy to negotiate. It is so much harder now than what we may have experienced before. Harder to be a parent, harder to be a kid. My message to you today is, Mom, don't sweat the small stuff. So what if they arrive a little bruised or even a scar or two, but they're here and they're headed towards an amazing, because you're willing it to be so, life. As a mother, you have always been expected to be a nurturer, a disciplinarian until your father gets home, a feeder of bellies, minds, and spirits. You're the one who is supposed to inspire through an ongoing menagerie of options and crafts. You take the raw material, knit it together for those little ones, and teach them in large measure to think before they leave, to not do certain things in public, to not hit or bite the family dog, cat, or siblings, and most of all, to seek the magic, which is hard to find sometimes in this world. This is no easy job in the best of times. I want to just thank you all that you do for what you do in order to civilize the young ones on this planet, to help nurture our world towards being a place of wonder, compassion, thoughtfulness, and kindness. This morning, I close with the words of the comedian Phyllis Diller, who explained, "I want my children to have all the things I couldn't afford. Then I want to move in with them." Happy Mothers, Parents, and Caregivers Day to all of you who go out there over and over again into the face of the unimaginable, endeavoring towards success, equipped with your love, ingenuity, MacGyver-like skills. Now that's a program that we should rewatch. And the courage of a superhero. You all inspire awe in me. I invite you to take a moment in silent meditation and prayer. Let us join in saying our extinguishing of the chalice located in your order of worship. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Our time in worship has come to an end. I invite us to honor, O divine source of love. We thank you for the countless ways you make yourself known to us. O deep lap, we feel supported by your firm strength under us, yielding that solid. You are utterly reliable. You will never let us down. O all-embracing arms, you hold us warmly against your comforting self. In the rhythmic cycles of your body, we feel the steady heartbeat of everlasting life. O sweet breath, you lift our hair and caress our skin. Yours is the breath of kindness. You dry our tears. You whisper solace in the night. Oh, beautiful, familiar face, your loveliness is constant, though your expression changes with climate, age, and season. Were we to sleep for 1,000 years and wake in an unknown place, still we would know that we are at home in you. Praise and thanks to you, divine source of comfort, of pleasure, of knowledge, and of peace. May we always remember with every breath and gesture that we are loved, we are loved, we are loved. So may it be, blessed be. Amen.